is my wrap up video for all of the books that I've read in 2018 so far, so January and February. I'm really excited to talk about these because some of them I absolutely love. Two of these are now two of my favourite books of all time that I've ever read, and one of them is possibly in contention to be the worst book I've ever read. Hands down, Unwind by Neil Sussman will always be the worst book I've ever read, but this is a possible like number 2 or 3 or 4. Okay, so the first one is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. Trigger warning for OCD and depression, anxiety. I really think that the way this book portrays mental illness is so important and so truthful. I really see John Green in this book as well. I really feel like he put so much of himself into this book, which I love. I really enjoyed The Fault in Our Stars when it came out, but now looking back at it, it could be better. I really believe that this is the best book he's ever written. His other books I didn't really enjoy, but this, I really hope he writes more like this in the future. I thought that the characters were really good in the way that they were flawed, and that was fine. The best friend in this story, people sort of say that she's annoying and she's not a good friend. Yeah, like, that's a real person, you know. It's not this, you know, perfect human being. That's not how people are, and I really appreciated this book. It just was really important to me personally as well. This was an amazing way to start the year. This was the first book I read, and I read it in 2 days. I absolutely loved it. I will probably read it again in the future, so would definitely recommend. The next book I'm going to talk about is Bitch Planet Volume 2. This series is set to be my favourite graphic novel series that I've ever read. I ate this up. I absolutely loved it. The first volume, I read it again before I read this when I got it. Loved it. I love the premise. I love the artwork. I love the story. I especially love, in between the chapters, there's these kind of things, and it says, is she a feminist? Do not approach her. She's dangerous. Basically, these books are about this planet called Bitch Planet, and if you do not go along with the patriarchy, if you're not the perfect woman, you know, if you're not thin, if you don't do what you're told all the time, you're sent here. I absolutely love it. I love the art. I love everything about it. I cannot wait for more of these. Anyone who hasn't read these 2 volumes needs to immediately. Next is Lumberjanes Volume 1. I think this is super cute. I really enjoy the art. A lot of people don't like it, but I actually live for it. I think it's so cute. Story, you know, I read this after I read Turtles All the Way Down and Bitch Planet, so I had high expectations for what I wanted to read. And this was just, you know, a fluffy, cute little story. I don't know if I'll continue with it, but it was cute. Like, I gave it 3.5, I think, which is a good rating for me. So I enjoyed it. I just didn't think it was the best thing I've ever read. Vampire Academy by Richelle Mead. First of all, I'd like to say that this book and this part of the review definitely has a trigger warning for self-harm and depression. I'll have a time stamp if you'd like to skip this to the next book. If you really don't like this book, I enjoyed it, but I had a lot of problems with it. I hate Rose. I dislike Dimitri. I just hate the characters in this. I think that they are awful people. Rose is just an extremely problematic character. She uses words like crazy, insane, psycho, crippled, very disrespectful to people, and the way that she talks about people is extremely problematic. She is the worst for slut shaming. This character named Mia sends out a rumor about her, and to get back at her, she just does the exact same thing back at her, and she spreads rumors about her. She slut shames her. She's constantly calling people sluts, whores, sleazy, you know, dirty when they are sexually active and things like that. It's just so much girl on girl hatred for no real apparent reason apart from drama. Just not really my cup of tea to read about a character that is that problematic. Doesn't really understand that she is being a horrible person. She also constantly refers to other women as, you know, hags, bitches, as I said, sluts, whores, things like that. And she never really refers to men in that way. The real degrading names are left for the women in the book. Rose seems to think that because Mia is sexually active, that she deserves to be treated like that. She deserves to be slut-shamed, she deserves to be called names, whereas because Rose is not sexually active, she's a virgin, that she doesn't deserve it. Which is just extremely problematic, to think that you are somehow better than somebody just because you don't have sex. Also, can we stop with this 17-year-old virgin trope? Teenagers do have the ability to have sex and do have sex. I don't understand this big thing about main characters in books being virgins. I really think that it's kind of disingenuous to have every single character that is the main character in a book as a virgin. And then, you know, you have books like this where teenagers that aren't virgins are portrayed as, you know, the bitch, the whore, you know, things like that. It's just so problematic. Earlier on in the book, Rose, the main character, was talking about, you know, seeing different guys, hooking up with guys, and I was thinking, you know, this is going to be a book where there's going to be a protagonist who's sexually active and it's totally normalized, and I just rolled my eyes and just shut the book and just stepped away from it for a little while, because when it was revealed that she was a virgin, it was just very like, oh, you know, and it's very clear that she thinks that she is somehow better than everyone else that isn't like her. So yeah, I really don't like Dimitri either. He walks in on Rose kissing another guy and basically tells her that she has no respect for herself because of this, and that's just a shitty thing for somebody to say. For this system to work with the Moroi and everything, people need to give blood, because, you know, that's just how it rolls. They need blood to survive. But she constantly refers to these people as blood whores. That is all they're ever referred to as. She just has no respect for them. She thinks that they're dirty, worthless, basically just disgusting. And even when Dimitri tells her his mother was one of these people, Rose still refers to his mother as a blood whore. She just has no respect for anybody else. Something that I really want to touch on is the fact that this book has self-harm, and I really wish that I had known about it going in, because it was very abrupt and really shocked me. I wish that there was some kind of trigger warning or something. I hadn't seen any reviews, any videos where people were discussing this and referenced that, so I do wish that they had. Lisa is her friend who self-harms, and Rose can clearly see that Lisa really needs help. Like professional help, but Rose is so obsessed with herself and so cocky, thinking that she can just fix everything, that she never really tells her friend, like, oh, maybe you should see someone, maybe you should see a therapist, you know, get some help. That is never said the whole time. She only tells someone when Lisa almost dies. The way that this book portrayed mental illness, therapy, medication was extremely problematic. This book, depression, mental illness, therapy, psychiatric medication does exist, so it's not like it just doesn't exist like in a fantasy or something. It does, and Rose just doesn't encourage her friend to get help, which I think is really important. And when her friend does get help and does see someone and starts taking medication, Rose says, oh, I'm not a fan of pills and things like that, and it is shown that Lisa has been self-harming for an extensive amount of time. Rose basically was just extremely self-absorbed, thinking that she could just, you know, ignore it and it would go away and it would get fixed, instead of actually trying to help her friend with her depression and self-harming. Did not appreciate that whatsoever. Later on, Rose is talking about some sad things, and then she says to herself, now I know what real depression feels like. No, Rose, you don't. That's the whole point. Like, oh my god, this character is infuriating. Anyway, I could probably talk about this forever. I may do like a full discussion video about how shit this book is and the very few instances where I thought that it was good and that there was character development. That would be a long video. I don't want to drag this on too much. I've probably cut out like most of this because I've been talking about this book for 15 minutes. I gave this 2.5 stars. I'm not sure if I'll continue with this series. If anyone would like to let me know if it gets better, blah 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 blah, you know, that would be fantastic. Next is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I have so many feelings about this book. This and Turtles All the Way Down are my two my favourite books. Number 1 and 2 probably, if not tied for 1. I absolutely adore this book. It's a dystopian novel told from the perspective of a female. Her name is Alfred. This novel is so important. Like the majority of dystopian novels, it kind of goes into the fact that for everybody in this world, it's not dystopian. For certain people, it's actually a utopian society. They benefit from oppressing certain members of their society. They use that to get ahead. So definitely the government and the commanders in this story definitely see this as a perfect utopian world, because they definitely have gotten ahead from oppressing, you know, Alfred and other people like her. One interesting part of this novel is where Alfred is speaking to the commander and he says something along the lines of better, as in like a better world. Better is not always better for everyone, kind of meaning that, you know, certain people have to be unhappy for the world to be perfect for us. And that definitely rings true, because some people, situation benefits them and they think that it's amazing and perfect, while not realizing that because it is the way that it is, it's actually horrible and detrimental to other people. Alfred's character is so interesting in the way that she is still so empathetic towards others. She's not even really seen as a human being anymore, but still really kind of tries to understand other people and is empathetic towards them, even when they're harming her, which is kind of an interesting thing to look at from the character's perspective. A particular scene where Alfred is being raped, the commander and the wife is there because it's a part of this ceremony that they all do. Alfred looks up at the wife and kind of says to herself that she doesn't know if this is worse for her or the wife, and just even though this person is horrible to her, it's kind of contributing to her suffering, she still empathizes with her and wonders it must be horrible for her, which is just an extremely interesting thing to kind of think about, that she still has this empathy for this character that has complete disdain for her. On Goodreads, I actually saw somebody in a comment of a review argue that Alfred was not being raped during this book because she did not actively fight back during the ceremony. The thing is that of course it is, because Alfred is not seen as a human being anymore. She's seen as a commodity, as an object to be owned by the commander and the government that force her to be there. When you take away somebody's ability to choose to whether they want to be somewhere or not, they no longer have any way of consenting to what they're going through. You know, to say that she wasn't being raped is extremely troubling to me, that some people actually believe that. If she were to fight back, she would be probably killed, sent back to the training camp, or sent to work at the toxic waste sort of facilities where they're sent if they're bad. Killed. You know, she probably had it in her mind that if she misbehaved in some way that she would be killed, because that did happen in this sort of world. I have a lot of feelings about this. I could talk about this book forever, but I absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. And last but not least, I have The Archived by Victoria Schwab. This is the book that I'm currently reading. I am about 17% done. I'm really enjoying it. It was really slow at the beginning. I'm glad that I read a couple of reviews that said it is a bit slow, but it does pick up, because it definitely has picked up and I'm really enjoying it now. I've never read anything by Victoria Schwab. I've wanted to for a while. I'm really interested in Vicious and her other stories. I'm not sure if I'll read the second book. I will see at the end what I think of it and whether I want to continue. That is all of the books that I've read in January and February of this year. Thank you so much for watching. I'm hoping that you enjoyed. If you'd like to subscribe, I will be uploading videos about reading, about photography, about life, etc. If anyone would like a singular review of any of these books where I go more in depth, feel free to let me know, and I hope you have a wonderful day or night.